All right, welcome to another serving of the debate on the Premier League preview show. Today we are at Stamford Bridge, like I promised, and we are asking a simple question. How badly do Chelsea need a striker? How badly do Chelsea need a striker? Remember, they are struggling to score this season. They scored only 3 goals in 2 games. They couldn't find a goal at Leeds. And, you know, people are talking about the fact that they don't have a goal-getter. Do they need one? How badly do Chelsea need a striker? Ahmed, let me start with you. You were making that point about Kai Havertz not being the man to lead Chelsea's line. So I'm sure your answer to this question is yes, they need a striker.
Oh yes. And if you watch all the teams that the current manager of Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel, has coached, he's had some very fantastic strikers in his setup. You go to Dortmund,
He had Aubameyang.
you come to PSG.
He had
There was Zlatan at the point. There was
yeah,
Cavani at the point.
Cavani.
He had all the creative players, Neymar and Co. were there,
yes,
right?
true.
So my point is that it comes down to systems, right? We talk about systems and all that. But my point is that when you do not have an out-and-out striker, any manager, any smart manager in the modern game would know that at least there's a -1 on your team. Because the point is that you don't have someone that is going to press. Now, again, let me just say this.
Man City essentially won last season without a proper
Guardiola
striker.
is different.
He's
the quality of materials at Manchester City.
Liverpool literally won the league without a striker.
Hold on. The quality of strikers, or players at Pep's disposal is unparalleled. I don't think there's any team in the world with the same.
Where you have midfielders who can actually score goals.
You talk about the fact that Liverpool won the league without a striker, but you have a winger who, similar to Cristiano Ronaldo, the point was, was a winger but was banking in goals. You have the same thing in Salah. You had Mane, who's not a striker, but will do all the work, press defenders to commit errors.
Okay.
You also had a certain, what do you call it, this Brazilian guy, what is his name?
Diego Jota.
Who was a 10, he wouldn't score many goals, but his movement and basically the things that he did. And you had Jota coming off the bench, right? So that is not comparable to this Chelsea team. Now, we have a Chelsea team who are having issues with Pulisic. The same with Ziyech. Now, we don't even know the starting 11 of Chelsea. It's when it comes to the wingers, right? That is not comparable to that Liverpool team that won the league. That's not comparable to the Pep Guardiola's team that continues to dominate English football. It's neither here nor there. Chelsea will need a striker. But I think that the only reason why they've not gotten one is who do you go for in this current, season?
To be fair, there aren't a lot of.
But Newcastle just bought a striker for £60 million.
Alexander Isak. I don't
You
think
cannot.
Chelsea would fancy Alexander Isak.
You see, the point is,
Belotti went
the English
to Roma
teams,
for free.
the English teams have gone
players around.
bonkers. There's no way. There's no way that kid from Real Sociedad is worth even £30 million sterling. Let us be honest with ourselves, and that's the thing. And that's why you have a club like Chelsea that will not be willing to splash that amount of money on them. Newcastle has what? The Saudis to fund them. About $350 billion. That's a lot of money. They can do whatever they want to do. But you have, an American, more or less a capitalist, and obviously he's not going to spend that money on his striker. Let us be honest with ourselves. Listen, there are not that many decent strikers, and that's why we did see that tussle for someone like Haaland, right? That's why we saw that tussle because every single team, the top teams,
Man City, Real Madrid.
So Chelsea need a striker. No two ways about it.
Okay.
Even the Chelsea forward line, right now, when you look at the Chelsea team, you don't really see that much threat from Chelsea when they're coming forward. That's the fact. And someone gave stats on Twitter last time. He said, aside the goal that Kai Havertz scored in the Champions League final, he's been bank average for Chelsea for the amount of money that he came in, for. And that's the thing. You have to look at these things, right? Chelsea.
But somebody will counter argue and say he's not a natural goal scorer. He finds himself in promising positions. He can score a couple of goals, but don't expect the world from him.
That is why they need the striker, right? Because now it's a makeshift. You don't have the option. So what do? You bring someone that obviously you think that can do certain things from certain positions. He find himself in open areas to score goals. But the point is that they need a striker.
Okay.
Thomas Tuchel will do very well with this team, and listen, maybe he will have to sort out his goalkeeping issues. I think that's the major challenge they have.
Okay.
But if he's able to solve that one and get a decent striker, they will do well.
They had one in Lukaku, but he's back in it.
Look, it is different when you play in a way that you need your strikers to be able to hold that ball, have decent first touch. Lukaku is not that striker. I mean, listen, Lukaku is not even good with the ball at his feet. That's the thing. You can go back to
enjoy that form of partnership with Martinez where he dunks off balls.
You can go back to his Everton days, right? You can go back to Inter Milan before coming to Chelsea and then going back. But the point, you look at the partnership, look at the kind of players that the telepathy that he had with them. He didn't have the same thing with what do you call it, the forward line of Chelsea. And obviously, games are now tactical. You know, it is more systems. And you could see that he was not fit for that system. You take a look at the Inter Milan team that he plays now. Obviously, he doesn't get the ball at his feet all the time. But this is a team that has been able to, know the strength of Lukaku and play the ball in areas that he will be. No, Chelsea, it's not that way. So they have to let him go. And besides, the gentleman himself, per some of his accounts, his interviews, clearly told us that he was not interested in continuing at Chelsea. And I've always said there's no player bigger than any club. If you come out and tell us that you're not willing to stay here, you should be out. Right? So Chelsea badly needs a striker.
So what do they do? You've mentioned that there aren't a lot of them on the market.
So find a decent one. I would say go look for a good striker, a great goal scorer.
Right.
But they are not there. But look for a decent one.
Like who?
They have the money, right? Till today, I find it difficult to understand why Son has still remained at Tottenham Hotspur. He's not winning anything.
Yeah. But maybe he likes it there.
No.
So you feel that Chelsea
No,
should
he's
show
not
him
even
the
an
money.
out-and-out striker.
No. Again, we are looking for people that can make goals. You don't have. You see, that's the thing. If Kai Havertz were to be given 10, 15 goals, even though he was not an out-and-out striker, I don't think Chelsea would be having this conversation, right? It's the same thing with Son. Son is not an out-and-out striker, but we see his conversion rate. He scored how many goals last season without penalties?
20 plus.
I actually thought that the last penalty they had, he should have been given so that he wins the goal king, but then he wasn't given. Harry Kane has stayed with Tottenham Hotspur. He's won nothing.
But he has scored 250.
No, but absolutely nothing. If he retires today, what has he got to show?
He's number 3 on the Premier League's all-time scorers.
Listen, that does not translate to winning trophies for any club.
Yeah, but
His name will forever be in history.
Yeah, we'll forever.
I think he's the quickest to 100 or so.
So Ahmed, welcome back. This is still the Premier League preview. Apologies, we had a bit of a technical issue there. So these things do happen every once in a while. You have the gremlins in the wires and cables. Okay, Ahmed. So we wrap it up quickly. Chelsea need a striker. We all agree. It's very obvious. Who you've mentioned 2 names, Kane or Son. You feel that the money can change Kane's mind.
I think it's long overdue for those
Spurs'
players
mind.
at Spurs.
So just to chase them with the money.
You have, if you're an ambitious club, these are the things you go. I never thought, I wake up one day and hear Casemiro wants to trade,
Champions League football for
yes,
money. But it happened.
The money comes in, right?
Okay,
and he looks
right.
at it, he's earning 7 million, annually. He's now getting about 12. He's gone.
Okay, all right. Emmanuel, so Chelsea need a striker. Do you also agree?
Not 100%.
Not 100%.
Not 100%.
Okay, all right,
I
quickly.
think Chelsea have bigger problems than striking. Now, yes, we'll say Kai Havertz is not all those things. Yes, one with Lukaku, they didn't play to his strength. Before they signed him, they promised to play his way. They did not. So that's not his fault for being a flop. That's one. Number 2. Yes, Kai Havertz, with the money he came in, he has not been the best, but he was the highest goal scorer last season also. I think he had 14 or so. Yeah. So it means he can score. I think Chelsea's main problem is defense and midfield.
Okay.
If they create quality chances for their forward line, right now as constructed, which is Havertz and Sterling, they can find the pool.
Okay.
If you have a midfield of Jorginho and you are not relying on Gallagher and Kante, who doesn't have legs nowadays, what quality chances are you going to create for the offense? Because that Chelsea midfield, outside Kovacic, if Kovacic is not in any lineup, they struggle because he's their best. He can progress the ball, he can dribble, he can take on 1 or 2 players, he can find. He's not the greatest passer, but he brings presence in the midfield. Now their defense, you have an aging defense, and you've already added another aging player to it, and it's obvious he's not been quite settled. Yes, I'm talking about Koulibaly.
Can you do Koulibaly?
Yes, so you would have to solve your midfield first. The midfielder and the defense. If you get a quality midfielder in there to create quality chances for Sterling and Havertz, I think they'll thrive.
Okay, all right. We'll see what happens. But you can continue the bid wherever you are. Do Chelsea need a striker? Yes, no, maybe 50%. Yeah, whatever. You can continue the debate wherever you are, or you can send us a message on 0550-585832. This is the Premier League preview show. Now that we are done looking at the debate, let's move on to the next part of the show, which is the FPL zone. So get ready, pull out your pens and papers, reconstruct your team, and make the points count this weekend as the FPL zone comes to you up next.